Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am going to turn it over to Raj from Cowen.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Melissa. And my name is Raj from Cowen. And today I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker for the morning. I'd like to introduce Katherine Lauber from Marigold Whole Life Counselling. Katherine is a registered psychotherapist and certified sound therapist who believes in taking a holistic approach to mental health. She specializes in integrating psychology and spirituality and has expertise in treating trauma, depression, anxiety, and grief. Katherine holds a master's degree in psychotherapy and spiritual care from Laurier University in Waterloo and a Master of Divinity from the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California. Prior to her career in mental health, Katherine spent 10 years in business administration and human resources management. Please welcome Katherine.
Great, thank you, Raj. I appreciate that. And so welcome everyone to our webinar today on managing stress during COVID. And I'm just going to share my screen and get my slideshow going here. There we go. So I think whether you are going to work or working from home, right? I think we're all under stress right now. And what I'd like to do through this seminar today, I made the focus you. And so this seminar is for you because I think we're all experiencing stress. And one of the best ways in helping your staff, your business, your employees get through and manage themselves is to help yourself manage yourself. And so by the end of the seminar today, I would like everyone to have an understanding of the difference between chronic stress and burnout. I'd like you to have an understanding of the ABC model of cognitive behavioral therapy. And that can be a very powerful tool for managing stress of all kinds. And then hopefully if we've got time, we're going to apply that model to one of the situations that you are facing right now. And then at the end, I also have some resources. So places that you can go or that you can refer people that you know, just to help them manage the time and manage the stress that we're under. So let's get going. So stress, we're all under stress. Like stress is a normal part of everyday life, but when stress is productive, it is situational and temporary, right? So it's our internal response to external situations that can muster our resources and help us focus and move through a particular situation. And then when the situation is over, our stress response goes down. That's acute stress, and it's temporary. But what we're facing now, as we head into year 2 of a pandemic, we have been under extreme and constant stress for a long time. And when stress doesn't stop, it doesn't let up, we don't have a chance to reset our nervous systems, and we don't have a chance to kind of regroup and be able to come back, build up our reserves, and then face the challenges. So at the beginning of the pandemic, while we would have pulled in all of our resources and our stress tools and dug into our resilience to kind of face what was going on and manage it, I think what's happening now is that we've just run out. The well is dry. We just don't have anything left to give to these constant ongoing stressors. And so that means we've now moved into a chronic stress situation. It's long-term, ongoing, and can be very detrimental to our health and well-being. So I want to just ask you to think about right now, because you've all heard kind of the basics as to what constitutes good health, and what are the tools for kind of managing stress on a daily basis. And those tools, eating well, making sure you're getting sleep, making sure you're drinking lots of water, going out to the gym, right, for some stress relief, getting together with other people. So a lot of our stress management tools are no longer available to us. And we maybe haven't had time yet to find or create some new tools, or to adapt our old tools to the current situations. So I want to just ask everyone right now to think about, do you currently have a stress management or self-care plan? And your options, thank you, Melissa, for putting up the poll. Your options may be nope, I've never had one, have never used one. I don't have one now, but I have had one in the past. Yes, I do have one, but it's not working. Or yes, I do have a plan and I'm using it regularly. So thank you for responding. Look at that. The answers are coming up pretty quick. It's important to have a plan, because when we are in stress, so we'll keep the answers going, but while we're in stress, our minds really go offline a little bit, and we don't have the capacity to think through things as logically or as clearly as we do when we're not under stress. And so that's why it's good to actually have a plan and write it down and have it handy, so that when you're in that situation, you know where to go. So 55%, it looks like, have never had a stress management or self-care plan. 18%, yes, I have one, but it's not working right now, and that's absolutely understandable. 27% have a plan, yes, and you're using it regularly, so way to go. Is it possible, Melissa, to invite participants just to chat what's their favorite or most effective tool for managing stress or engaging in self-care?
Yeah, if they would like to put their thoughts in the chat box, they're more than welcome to.
Right, okay.
Or if they would like to speak, they can raise their hand and I can unmute them as well.
Right, yeah. I invite does anyone have a tool or a strategy that they'd like to share with the rest of us that's working right now? Because we're all looking for extra or additional stress management tools. And I guess, Melissa, I'll let you hopefully you can see those responses.
Yeah, I'm just watching to see if anyone does put their hand up, I will let you know. And if anything does come through the chat, I will let you know.
Okay, all right. So as those come in, we'll share them. But as we move on, I do invite you to think about, creating that plan, finding some resources that really do work for you. And it can be really simple, taking that time to just step outside. So on a day when the sun is shining, like today, stepping outside even for 5 minutes and taking a breath, taking in the sun, making sure that you're taking your lunch or your breaks. I know it's hard, but even just pausing for 20 minutes in the middle of the day just to break the routine up can recharge us and get us, back going. And connecting with
Katherine,
yeah.
Sorry, Katherine, I do have a couple.
Okay.
Nash, as she said, getting outdoors for a walk or getting on the treadmill, even for a few minutes of mental freeness. And Lynn, exercise or going for a walk has always worked for her.
Excellent. Yeah, right. It really is amazing how effective the simple tools can be. And I think because they're so simple, we tend to dismiss them easily or forget about them. Right. So let's just keep those in mind. So carrying on, so let's take a look at the difference between chronic stress and burnout, because they do look different. So Melissa, how do I move the poll off of my screen?
Is there an exit button?
Not that I can. Might have to stop sharing for a second. There we go. Close it. Come back. Okay. So chronic stress versus burnout. Extended periods of stress that never give up put us into the chronic stress state. And burnout can be a result of being under chronic stress. Burnout is often related to work, but not always. So if you're at home, or if you're in a situation where you're caring for someone else, parents or children, and it's getting to be too much, you can be burnt out in a caregiver position or at work as well. Some of the symptoms of chronic stress: you feel intense irritability. So irritability is a kind of a part of life, but if you're feeling intense irritability that's starting to get worrisome, that's something to pay attention to. Increased anger and frustration, very common symptom of chronic stress. And because we feel stress in our bodies, you may feel muscle pain that's not attributed to anything that you can think of. Digestive troubles are very common. Difficulty sleeping, that's often one of the first signs that we recognize that we're not doing well, because when we don't sleep well, it affects so many other areas of life. And so it's really important for your self-care and stress management plan to try and address sleeping as quickly if it goes off track. And there are lots of resources online with some really good basic sleep tools and tips. Ruminating thoughts, a little more difficult to manage, but that's if your thoughts are just keep going and racing and that train just never stops, maybe symptom that you're under a lot of stress. Feeling overwhelmed is really very common, and then you get sick a lot. Because stress depletes our immune system, we don't have that system available to us to help fight off colds or flus or illnesses. So we tend to get sick a lot when we're under chronic stress. Burnout, so if you are moving into burnout, you're going to have symptoms of chronic stress plus. So plus, you might also be experiencing extreme fatigue. So that is just the fatigue that is preventing you from really pushing through and getting things done that you really want to get done. You dread going to work. So if you're waking up and first thought you have is, oh, I just don't want to go. That's a big sign of burnout. You've lost your motivation and sense of purpose. Right? So you just can't handle those tasks or projects anymore. Disengagement is a really big piece of burnout, where you're just disengaged and not engaged or motivated in the work, and as a result, your work performance is suffering. And then as you move through that, conversely, if you do make achievements, finish projects, reach goals, those achievements actually are bringing no sense of satisfaction. And so that's an indication that you are burnt out. And kind of one of the generalized ways of determining the difference is chronic stress is often about too much. Okay? So you feel too much pressure, there's just too much to do. It's just a constant stream, but there's some hope that you can get through it. Burnout is more about, not enough or lack of, right? So there's a lack of engagement. There's a lack of motivation. You're feeling disengaged and emotionally blunted. So given those parameters, let's take a quick poll question number 2. Given those parameters, where do you think you are in terms of stress? Are you experiencing chronic stress? Do you believe maybe you're experiencing burnout given those parameters? Maybe you're experiencing some symptoms that don't really fall into any of those 2 categories. Maybe you're experiencing something, but neither of those 2 sound about right. That could be something other than that. None of the above, I'm okay. That's great. Let's give you some more tools and help keep you there. Okay, so a little bit, so 58% looks like are experiencing some chronic stress. 25% believe that you're experiencing burnout. 17% may be experiencing something other than chronic stress or burnout. And maybe you want to put, if you want to put some of those symptoms into the chat or share with Melissa kind of what's going on for you. And if we've got time, we can kind of address those. And none of the above, 8%. None of the above, I'm okay. Which is so good for you. I'm just going to close this. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it disappeared. If you are, so first of all, if you feel like you're experiencing burnout, that really is, it really can be detrimental. So it's really important to address it right away. And as we come to the end of the session, and I'll make sure that we've got time to go through there's some free resources that I can share with you that can help move you through that and support you through that. I do recommend counseling, psychotherapy for anyone who may be experiencing burnout or chronic stress that's gotten beyond your ability to manage it healthy. Many benefit plans have EAP programs that you can access. Psychotherapists, we're all working hard as well, opening up lots of spots to be able to address the needs. So, and if anyone would like to reach out to me personally, I can either help you or I can help find you someone who can help you. So I'm available for that. But here's some important tips for managing stress before we go into the ABC model. Focusing on what you can change is a really important concept because it's easy to kind of get caught up when we're under stress in a whole bunch of things that we don't have any control over, like controlling what other people say or do, or controlling timelines for vaccines, or controlling what level the province is under. And so while all these things are upsetting, we can't change them, and so let's try and not put a lot of energy into those things that we can't change. Maintaining a routine is really important for helping within kind of that work day. And so when things shifted last spring, we all had to pivot really quickly and figure out how we were going to do this, how we were going to work and go to school and get through our life. And we had to come up with some different ways of doing things. One of the things that we've lost is that sense of routine. So if you're working from home, and it's real easy to just kind of roll out of bed and roll into the office, grab your coffee and sit down and start working. But what I found was with the some of the clients that I'm working with, is that there's a real need for that transition time from home to work and work to home. And so I've had a lot of feedback from people who actually get up and get dressed, leave the house, get into the car, and drive around the block, drive up to your favorite coffee shop, go through the drive-through, and then come home, and then move into the office, into your workspace for your day. And that kind of routine just tricks our brains into making that transition from home time to work time. And then at the end of the day, it's the same kind of routine. And even if you're not getting back in your car to drive back home, if you've gotten up and gotten dressed, right, and put on your work clothes, like I know at the beginning it was really novel to go to work in our sweatpants or pajama bottoms, right? But the novelty of that has worn off by now. And if you get up and get dressed for work at the beginning of the day, then when you finish your work day and you get changed into your comfy clothes, that helps kind of make the transition then from work to rest. Okay? So routines are very, very important. Take some time off, even if it's, taking your lunch break, I mentioned earlier, 20, 30 minutes, just to refocus and shift your thoughts, shift your mind, give yourself that mental space for some breaks. Take your vacations, take your holiday days, and even extend your times off beyond, just a basic weekend. Research suggests that our productivity goes up if we can take 4 days off in a row every 3 months, because that allows our minds to shift out of their work routine and our stress routine, move into some more calming state, and takes 4 days. And if we do that every few months, it allows us to reset and refresh and kind of get back into the game. And as you're thinking about taking time off, regularly carving out time for things that you enjoy. Again, it's too easy to let these things slip. So if we don't think about them consciously and identify, what are the things that I really do love to do? I enjoy taking my dog to the park. I enjoy, calling friends or family on the phone and just spending time together. I enjoy knitting or crocheting, picking up crafts or music. And I haven't picked up my guitar in 8 or 10 months now. Those kind of things. So just remembering the things that you enjoy and that lift you up and fill you up, and making time for those things. Schedule those in as intentionally as you would schedule in a meeting or an appointment or a webinar online. Schedule in the times that you schedule in times to do things that you enjoy. And then, of course, reaching out for support. We really are in this together, and we cannot get through it by ourselves. So making sure that you're connecting with people, right? Connecting with friends, loved ones, trusted people that you can talk to. And if you need to, reaching out beyond that to some professional help, connecting with doctors or psychotherapists, or some of the online resources that I'm going to share with you. Right? Give yourself that gift of reaching out for the support. Okay. So I think we're going to move into the ABC model, but Melissa, I'm just going to pause for question time, I think, or see if there's any, go back and review some of the comments that have come in by now.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone does have any questions, please raise your hand and I will unmute you. Let me see. Nash just put a comment in the chat. She said, just still getting up and dressed to go to work is a great idea. It makes me feel like I am in ready mode. Then at the end of the day, she does change out of her work clothes to does change out of her work clothes and puts her lounge wear on, and it separates her day.
And it feels good, doesn't it, Nash? Right? Like when you actually change into your lounge clothes and you feel that, whew, right? Psychologically, you feel that relief. So thank you for that.
She said, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And no one has questions at the moment, Catherine.
Okay.
So if you'd like to continue.
Okay. So what I'd like to share with you is a model that you can utilize and apply to many situations, not just pandemic stress or workplace stress or burnout. It's called the ABC method of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT. So the ABC of CBT. And the basic premise, the ABC model suggests that it's not external events that cause us emotional upset. Okay, so things happen, things happen, but it's not those external events that causes the stress or the upset. It's our internal beliefs about the event that cause the emotional response. And so in the case of challenging or uncomfortable emotional responses, such as stress, it's what's called our irrational beliefs that cause the emotional upset. So this is one of the foundational principles of cognitive behavioral therapy. And because we have such powerful minds, there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot that we can do with our minds. And CBT suggests that shifting thoughts and challenging the irrational beliefs that cause us emotional distress is one of the ways that we have of regulating our emotions and calming down our nervous systems. So the A stands for the external activating event. So, things that happen in life. B is the irrational beliefs that we are attached to that event. And then C are the emotional consequences. So an example, and this happened for me recently when I was out. So I had to go out to the local home hardware and pick up a few things. And as I was in the store, I noticed that there was someone who did not have a mask on. And as they passed by, I just allowed them to pass by. I had my mask on and I kept my, 6 feet distance. And as I continued on, there was another person in there who did not have a mask on, and I, kind of did the same thing and carried on. And as I went through the checkout and went outside, this family came out of the store, and 2 of them were not wearing masks, and I went, oh, they're all together. That's curious. And then I started thinking about it, and I started getting upset. And I thought, you should be wearing masks. Why would you be going out without masks? Everybody knows that, it's part of the pandemic plan. And then I started getting worked up a little bit. And I looked on the door and I said, do they not know that we're supposed to be wearing masks? And I looked on the door and there's the sign that said, please wear a mask before entering. And then I thought, well, the employees should have done something about that. Why didn't they do something about that? And then I started getting really worked up. And it was a minute before I kind of had to catch myself and go, wait, just wait a minute, calm down here. Like 2 minutes ago, I was fine. And now I've actually gotten myself all worked up into this, really kind of emotional, stressed out state. Because of seeing people without masks on. But it was not the activating event. People will wear their masks or they will not wear their masks. And, that fact is not what causes me distress. It's the beliefs that I have about that event. And one of the ways that we can really recognize an irrational belief that is going to cause us emotional upset or distress is to notice when we're using should or must in our thinking. So for example, they should be wearing masks, or the staff should have done something about that. Well, in these two situations, there's nothing that I could do about people or the staff. And the words should or must, when we use those words in our thinking, our brains trigger an impossible situation, right? Subconsciously, we trigger an impossible situation over which we have no control, and then we really start to feel stressed and nervous about it. And so here's how to address this whole process. The first step is recognizing it's happened, but the second is the extension of the ABC model, which is the D and E. So once we recognize that we might be having an irrational belief about a situation, and it's the belief that is causing us an emotional consequence, we dispute the irrational belief so that we can create an effective new belief. So in this situation, one of the main ways of disputing an irrational belief is kind of going back to what I introduced just a little bit earlier about strategies and focusing on things that we can control and things that we cannot control. I have no control over what other people do. It's true there is a mask mandate, and it's true that they were not wearing masks, but it's also true that I don't have any power over that, right? And I also don't know their situation, right? As I think and dispute the irrational belief, I may consider that they might have a medical exemption for not wearing a mask. And if that's the case, maybe they feel nervous or stressed when having to go out in public because they know that people are going to be looking at them and probably judging them, and maybe they're feeling, stressed themselves about the situation. And as I work through the process and dispute the irrational belief, I replace it with an effective new belief that eliminates the shoulds and musts and introduces some some compassion, maybe introducing some usefulness, and that allows my nervous system to calm down. It puts my emotions back into balance, and reduces the stress load on me. Okay. Because for managing stress, for managing chronic stress and burnout, the point is helping me stay and helping you stay calm and as de-stressed as possible so that you can continue to be effective and make good choices and continue to do good work. Okay? So it's not about controlling who wears their masks or not, or what regulations or laws come out. It's about making sure that I'm staying as calm and as stress-free as possible so that I can then contribute positively kind of to the whole situation. So does that generally speaking, that's the model, and we can talk about it some more in detail, but does anyone have any questions at this point about the model, or maybe how to apply it in your situation? It is something that takes practice, because our initial thoughts to stressful situations can often be, it was that situation that made me feel X, right? Or it was that person that made me feel Y. But if you find that that's happening, I invite you to stop and think for a moment and consider, okay, am I having an irrational belief about this situation? What is my thinking behind this? And then, try and dispute your thinking. Ask yourself, does this belief actually really fit with reality? Does this belief help foster positive communication and positive, healthy relationships? Does this belief seem reasonable given the context in which it occurred? And if nothing else, just ask yourself, is this belief that I'm holding generally detrimental or generally helpful? And then it's your choice. Do you want to hold on to a belief, maybe true, but do you want to hold on to a belief that causes you emotional detriment? Or, can you let it go? Can you release it and shift your thinking? So I think,
Katherine,
do you have some questions?
There are some coming through the chat.
Okay.
So everything is heightened during this last year. I am feeling extra super sensitive to feelings or being left out. And then stressful things, pressure or demands from both home environment and work sometimes raises blood pressure and affects behavior to situations.
Yep. Yeah. So it's stressful, spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with our loved ones, right? It doesn't mean we don't love them. It just means that, we're all working very, very hard to be in spaces with other people. And everything is heightened. So yes, one of the comments that, everything is heightened. And we may be feeling more emotionally vulnerable and at everything that's going on. And very true. So if you can apply this model in situations that are triggering for you, and work it through, and it's often helpful to kind of work it through in writing, right? So in a journal or in a paper, and just write out the A, and then write out the B, and write out the C, and then try and work through the D and E as a self-care practice, right? This model could become part of your self-care plan as one of those things that you are doing to help yourself, right, manage your stressors. Just a comment, though, kind of a side note that I want to mention, and it ties back into our first poll, where there's a number of people who are experiencing something but doesn't fit chronic stress or burnout. One of the other things that I think many people are experiencing right now is grief, because we've all lost something through this pandemic. Whether you've actually had a friend or loved one or colleague die and are experiencing that loss, which is very real, and you are now grieving, we've also experienced loss of we've experienced loss of our routines. We've experienced loss of some of our freedoms. We've experienced losses of celebrations. I know many weddings that got postponed and graduations that didn't happen. All kinds of losses that we've all experienced over the past year. And loss creates grief. Grief is a rational emotion. Okay, so grief often feels heavy, and it's not just sadness. It can also be anger. Grief can look like depression sometimes. And part of healing grief is to experience it and move through it, right? To feel that sadness, to acknowledge the anger, to engage with the feeling of depression and allow it to shift and move through. And one of the ways that I often share with my clients is, how do I know that the difference between grief and actually clinical depression? Grief will come in waves. So it tends to kind of roll in like a wave and then it rolls out again. Whereas depression will just stick around, and it sticks around for a long time. So you may be experiencing grief. If that's the case, trust that it is a natural response to the situation. It is a rational emotion, and it is something that is best healed by experiencing it, right? Living it, moving through the grief. Because grief will stick around, and it will stick around for as long as it takes for us to acknowledge it and move through it. So that's just a little side note on grief, and how to manage that reality if that's what you're experiencing. Okay. So utilizing the ABC method of CBT, though, for chronic stress and burnout can be a really effective tool. So I invite you to try that and see if that is helpful for you. And I wanted to share some of the free resources that are available right now, because a lot of people are suffering, and mental health resources can be a little bit limited. So there is a great online CBT program delivered by Morneau Chappelle, and it's called Ability CBT, so ability with an I for internet. Go to that website, sign up, register. They connect you with an actual, like a real person, a real life counselor, and then you do the counseling through emails and through the website. There's a portion of some videos, some readings, some check-ins with your counselor. It's really good to kind of just help address, some of those challenges that you may be experiencing right now. Kids Help Phone for anyone under the age of 18, 1-800-668-6868. It's a great line for your kids if they just need a place to vent and to unload and to share. And sometimes when kids are feeling distressed, it's hard to talk to mom and dad. The Kids Help Phone is an excellent resource. Here 24/7 for Waterloo Region, this is the mental health crisis line. It's available at all times. They have crisis counselors that you can speak to. They have addictions counselors, and they have resources to help direct and guide you to other community resources. But that's the crisis line. So if you or someone is in crisis, that's the number to call. Bounce Back Ontario is another online CBT based program that you can connect with, funded by the Ontario government. And then the Canada Suicide Prevention Line, 1-833-456-4566. If you or anyone is starting to have thoughts of suicide, thoughts of harming themselves or ending your life in any way, reach out and talk to someone, right? The best way to address suicide thoughts are to share them with someone else. So if that's you or someone you know, I really encourage you to reach out and connect there. And of course, utilizing your benefits, connecting with counselors throughout the region. We're all online now, so you can just do a quick Google search. And I think, and that's everything that I did have to share today. So we do have time for questions or comments or any conversation. Melissa, if there's anyone that's...
If anyone has any comments, again, please feel free to raise your hand and I can unmute you. Or if you would like to put some stuff into the chat, I can watch that. Katherine, are you going to be able to share your presentation? If you could send a copy to me and I can send it out to the attendees.
Absolutely. Yes, I absolutely can do that. And here I'll put the oh, I won't, can't do it. Okay, sorry, I was gonna put the resources page back up, but I can't do it. I'll share that. And if anyone would like to get in touch with me, so I offer free 15-minute consultation. If you'd like to get in touch with me, go ahead. And whether you're looking for support or looking for other resources or any questions about mental health supports, I'm happy to talk to you, and I'm happy to provide you with referrals or resources or or other avenues for helping manage your particular situation. So please feel free to get in touch with me, phone or text or email. I'm around.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Looks like everyone enjoyed your presentation. Just looking at the chat here. This session has been extremely helpful. Thank you so much. Great job, Katherine. I feel this is always an important topic to discuss, especially given the pandemic lockdown. Thank you for your time. I am feeling the burnout lately, and this has been very helpful. Thank you. What are things we can do to help manage stress in the workplace?
So, right, good question. And it depends on kind of what the area of stress is for you. But here's some of the tips that that seem to work for other people. One is limiting your emails, right? So emails can be that constant stressor throughout the day, right? If you're constantly hearing the ping or seeing the email notification kind of flash up on your screen, turning those notifications off and then setting out specific times throughout your day to do your email really helps reduce the stress. So you might set aside 20 minutes in the morning, another 10 minutes at midday, another 20 minutes in the afternoon. And stick to those times. That's the time that you check your emails and make your notes and make your plan for what you need to do, and then turn the notifications off. Get to your work until your next time frame to check your emails. That can be really helpful for reducing that constant pressure, right? So that's the too much of the chronic stress. Too many emails to return to, too many demands coming in at me, too fast. And then another one is really keeping good boundaries around your time. And here's the thing: when we keep good boundaries, making sure that we're working reasonable hours, right? Sometimes you have to stay a little bit longer. Sometimes you come in a little bit earlier, but within reason, keeping to that reasonable workday, making sure you're taking your breaks throughout the day. Because when you take your break, you come back more refreshed and you're more effective. what happens when we get into chronic stress situation, the workday just seems to go on forever. We bring it home at night with us. It carries through with us through the weekend. And then we just start spinning around in circles and we don't get anything done. So the best thing that you can do for yourself and your employer is making sure you're having good boundaries around a reasonable kind of workday time. Drinking water is the other thing. And I realized that I haven't nearly had enough water yet today. But our brains need hydration in order to work effectively. So making sure you're getting, 8 or more glasses of water every day, some sunshine and fresh air. So we've just come through kind of, the winter, the lowest, darkest time of the year. That seasonal affective disorder can kick in. We may all be feeling a little bit low, a little bit depleted. Making sure that you're getting some sunshine and fresh air every day. If seasonal affective disorder is a challenge for you, there's the light therapy is really effective, and it's a lamp. Sometimes it's called a happy light, that you plug in and sit in front of for a period of time every day, that helps mimic the positive effects of sunlight, and that can really help affect our mood. And making sure that you are eating properly and getting proper nutrition. Okay, so again, our bodies and our minds need really healthy foods and nutritions. And when we're stressed, it's really easy to cheat a little bit and to, kind of get into that, fast food habit, or just, grabbing an unhealthy snack just to fill our stomachs with something. If that's happening, just pay attention. Don't beat yourself up about it, but notice it, and then just take one step to increasing your nutritional food intake, and making sure that it's healthy foods, whole foods. One of the ways I personally like getting a lot of my nutrition when I'm busy is in smoothies. So just making sure I have that smoothie every day that's jam-packed full of greens and proteins and vitamins and all kinds of good stuff. And it just kind of helps create that base. So there's a few kind of some of this basic, a lot of it is back to basics, but it's making the plan so that when we're stressed, we can just look at the plan and go, oh, right, yeah, I drank water today? Oh, no, actually I haven't. Okay, let's do that. Did I go outside? No, I'm going to take 5 minutes and just go outside. And then, and sticking to the plan. So hopefully that that helps kind of give you a few more ideas on managing your stressful days.
That's great. Thank you so much, Katherine.